Cedar Point is an amusement park located in Sandusky, Ohio, and is the roller coaster capital of the world due to its large selection of world-class roller coasters and thrill rides. Cedar Point is at the top of every enthusiast bucket list and is a favorite among many. While the park is loaded with incredible roller coasters, the park didn't start out the way you probably think it would have. Cedar Point started in 1870 as a beer garden, dance floor, and bathhouse on the beach. It wasn't until 1892 when the park added its first roller coaster, the Switchback Railway. The Switchback Railway was a small wooden roller coaster and only stood at a height of 25 feet, reaching speeds of up to 10 miles per hour. The roller coaster closed in 1901. In 1902, Loop the Loop opened. Loop the Loop was a small wooden roller coaster designed by Frederick Ingersoll, but would later close in 1909. In 1908, Dip the Dip Scenic Railway made its debut. Dip the Dips was another small-scale wooden coaster. In 1910, Racer, a racing wooden roller coaster, opened. In 1912, a T.M. Hart & Company wooden roller coaster opened. In 1917, Dip the Dips closed for good. In 1918, High Frolics opened. In 1928, Racer closed for good. In 1929, Cyclone opened. In 1935, Leap the Dips closed for good. In 1940, High Frolics closed for good. And in 1951, Cyclone was closed for good. And in 1952, an Alan Herschel kiddie coaster named Little Dipper opened, but closed that same year. A year later, in 1953, another Alan Herschel kiddie coaster named Super Coaster opened. In May of 1959, a B.A. Schiff Wild Mouse coaster known as Wild Mouse opened to the public. In 1962, Scamper, another Wild Mouse, opened. In 1963, Wild Mouse closed for good. Super Coaster closed for good in 1964, and in May of 1964, the park's oldest operating roller coaster, Blue Streak, opened. Blue Streak is a PTC wooden coaster. That same year, Broadway Trip opened. Broadway Trip was a mock rides coaster, but closed that same year. In 1965, Space Spiral, an observation tower, opened to the public. In May of 1969, Cedar Creek Mine Ride, an Aero Mine Train, made its debut. That same year, Scamper closed for good. In May of 1970, Wildcat, a Schwarzkopf Wildcat, made its debut. In 1972, Jumbo Jet, a Schwarzkopf, opened to the public. In May of 1976, Corkscrew opened. Corkscrew is an aerodynamics looping coaster and was the first coaster to go upside down 3 times. In 1978, Cedar Point acquired Valley Fair in Shakopee, Minnesota. The two became sister parks, and the two would eventually form Cedar Fair, the current operator for both parks, in 1983. In June of 1978, a racing coaster known as Gemini opened. Gemini is an Aero Special Coaster Systems and is only one of 3 in operation, the other 2 being Excalibur at Valley Fair and the Matterhorn bobsleds at Disneyland. The same year, 2 coasters, Jumbo Jet and Wildcat, closed for good. Wildcat was relocated to Valley Fair where it operated as rails. In 1979, another Schwarzkopf Wildcat, also known as Wildcat, opened. That same year, Junior Gemini, now known as Wilderness Run, opened. Wilderness Run is an Intamin kiddie coaster and was the very first Intamin coaster to ever open. In 1985, Disaster Transport, an Intamin Swiss Bob coaster, opened. In June of 1987, Iron Dragon opened. Iron Dragon is an aerodynamic suspended coaster. In May of 1989, the park debuted Magnum XL 200. Magnum XL 200 is an aerodynamics hypercoaster and was the very first coaster to break the 200-foot height limit, standing at a height of 205 feet. Magnum opened as the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world and truly marked a new era in the roller coaster industry. In May of 1991, Mean Streak, a large-scale Din Corporation wooden coaster, opened. In May of 1994, Raptor opened. Raptor is a B&M invert and was among one of the first B&M inverted coasters to open. That wasn't a clone of the famous Batman the Ride. In May of 1996, Mantis, a B&M stand-up coaster, made its debut. In May of 1998, Power Tower and S&S Drop Tower opened. In May of 1999, Woodstock Express, a Vekoma Jr. coaster, opened to the public. In May of 2000, Millennium Force opened to the public. Millennium Force is an Intamin Giga coaster and was the first full-circuit roller coaster to break the 300-foot barrier, standing at a height of 310 feet, making it the tallest full-circuit roller coaster at the time of its opening. In May of 2002, Wicked Twister, an Intamin impulse coaster, opened to the public. In May of 2003, the park added yet another record-breaking roller coaster, Top Thrill Dragster. Top Thrill Dragster is an intimate hydraulic launch strata coaster and broke the 400-foot barrier, standing at a height of 420 feet. It was also the first roller coaster at the time of its opening with the max speed, fastest roller coaster at the time of its opening with the max speed of 120 miles per hour. All of these records were all taken just a couple years later in 2005 when King Ka at Six Flags Great Adventure opened. In May of 2007, Maverick opened. Maverick is an intimate blitz coaster. The coaster was originally supposed to open with a Heartline roll-ness layout. However, it was determined it was too intense for riders and was replaced with the straight section in 2000. In 2011, Wildcat closed for good. In June of that same year, Windseeker, a Mondial Tower swing, opened. In July of 2012, Disaster Transport closed for good, along with the park's observation tower, Space Spiral. A year later, in May of 2013, Gatekeeper, a B&M wing coaster, opened. For the 2015 season, the B&M stand-up coaster Mantis was converted into a B&M floorless coaster and repainted and renamed to Rougarou. In May of 2016, Valraven opened. Valraven is a B&M dive coaster and opened as the tallest, fastest, and longest dive coaster. However, that all was taken by Yukon Striker in 2019. In September of 2016, Mean Streak closed for good. In May of 2018, Steel Vengeance, an RMC hybrid coaster, a conversion of the former Mean Streak, made its debut. Steel Vengeance opened as the tallest, fastest, and longest RMC coaster. However, all of this will be taken by Iron Gwazi once that opens this year in 2022. In 2019, Forbidden Frontier was introduced, and most recently, in September of 2021, Wicked Twister closed for good. To this day, Cedar Point holds its title as the roller coaster capital of the world and continues to add record-breaking coasters to its amazing collection. There's no doubt that Cedar Point has nothing but a bright future ahead.